Welcome back. Let's go ahead and talk about Solana destroying Ethereum, what that means, who said it, and really the underlying mission. I want you guys to watch this entire video because it's going to be important. I'm going to drop a few gems, mental gems for you regarding critical thinking, because that's what we really focus on this channel. And then, of course, we're going to do a crypto update because we got to do a market update. It's Sunday, for Pete's sake. We got a weekly candle close. Bitcoin, I think, broke all-time high last night, like in the middle of the night, which again is really cool. It's something unique that we see in crypto, not in traditional finance, because traditional finance and markets close. But remember, the markets are actually going to be tokenized 24/7, 365. Well, 24/7, but with the different settlements and whatnot, because we're never going to fully see a blockchain that's used for tradfi to operate 24/7, 365 because of laws and regulations and clearances, and they got to make sure there's no fraud and different things like that. But in reality, if you really think about it, you can use AI, you can use a lot of these tools available to kind of automate everything. But I don't think we're going to see that happen. Now, with that being said, the Bitwise CIO, I believe it was, big talking head over at Bitwise came out and said, you know, Solana is going to be Wall Street's next favorite. And we're going to listen to it. The reason why I'm showing you this clip and we're talking about it is not necessarily because Solana versus Ethereum. It's more so the idea behind it, the meaning behind it. And I'll explain to you in a second. And then, yeah, we'll do some charts. We'll do some charts. All right, let's go ahead and pull this up. The article over here came from Cointelegraph. Bitwise exec predicts Solana will become Wall Street's preferred stablecoin network. Now, when we talk about stablecoins, I don't like stablecoins. I'm not a big fan of stablecoins. I think we need a couple, you know, maybe one on each network, but the amount of stablecoins we're seeing flood into the market for these DeFi opportunities, like how crowded does the market get? Because the more crowded the market gets, in my opinion, with DeFi and whatnot, it lowers the amount of rewards that are paid, primarily because we don't have everybody on Ethereum, we don't have everybody on Solana, or we don't have everybody on hedera, or whatever that may be. And even more so, we have less and less people on each one of these protocols because there's so many for each chains. So the more people you have, generally, the more, you know, liquidity, the more rewards. That's just the way I think of it. But talking about stablecoins, and when we talk about stablecoins, the reason why stablecoins got pushed out so fast is because traditional finance is it's a lot easier for them to kind of get in that way, even though we've got the crypto spot ETFs, which I believe 21 were filed on Friday. We should get those approved soon. To the people that are like, well, Wendy, the government shut down. Those are not going to get approved. The government's still working, but it's working in a limited capacity. And that just basically means we're not going to get things done as fast, but we are still going to get things done. Now, I want to play this clip for you, and then I'm going to kind of come back to my thought process. Good morning to YouTube babes, to TikTok, to Rumble, to Twitch, to all of you. Good morning to Mr. Dale, to Mr. R, Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Gamer. But let's go ahead and listen to this clip, and then I got to drop some thoughts for you.
Look, I think Solana has a new Wall Street. When you talk to this audience, for them, things like Bitcoin are very ephemeral, hard to get their hands around, but they see what's happening on the stablecoin and tokenization space, and they know that that's going to be enormously significant. Really important people are saying that stablecoins will reinvent payments and tokenization will reinvent stock, bond, commodity, and real estate markets. The head of the SEC is saying that. The head of the Bank of England is saying that. The CEO of BlackRock is saying it. People can imagine that happening. And then they want to ask, how do they invest? And when they look how to invest, the answer is in the blockchain space. And then when they evaluate the different blockchains, the speed, the throughput, the finality of Solana makes it seem extraordinarily attractive. You can tell them things like Solana literally gets to finality in the blink of an eye. 400 microseconds going to 150 microseconds. That makes sense to them. That's how they like to trade. So this story is really resonant, and I think you'll see substantial flows.
So this is a little bit clipped up, which is fine. But the moral of the story is he's talking about how traditional finance, how real estate, how everybody wants something that's super fast. And again, they're heavily, Mr. Matt and Bitwise and everybody else, these guys are heavily invested in Solana. Okay, so it makes sense that they're going to shield their bags, and you can't fault them for that. But moral of the story is, I don't give anybody money. If you are an able-bodied young man, you need to be out working. We're not going to have that conversation again today. But let's go ahead and talk about what the underlying deal is here. So when I hear things like this, it makes me like think ahead of time. So we have Solana, we have Ethereum, we've got Ripple, we've got hedera, we've got Cardano, we've got all these different ecosystems, okay? All these different ecosystems, and it's good because it's positive competition. But just because this cycle, Wall Street's favorite is Ethereum, doesn't mean it's going to be the favorite next cycle. And that's why I've said I'm going to sell as of today, and this could change day by day by day. It really depends what the market sentiment is, what's going on regulation wise. There's a lot of different things and factors I look into. But this is where I say I'm going to sell a majority of my Ethereum this cycle. When we hit that 10,000, 15,000, whatever that peak is, close to the peak as possible. Again, I'm not going to be able to sell at the top. Generally, I've done pretty well at selling between a month or two. But I want to make sure that I rebalance my portfolio this cycle. And the reason why is because we finally have regulation. We're finally getting guidelines. We're finally getting some sort of clarity in the markets. And in the past, we were just it was a lot more speculative because it's like we had all these different chains and everybody was promising to do X, Y, Z, but we can make all the promises that we want. But at the end of the day, regulation is going to dictate what we can and can't do and what these companies can and can't do. What Wall Street can and can't do, what real estate can and can't do, how RWAs work, how stablecoins function, how all these different chains function. So that's why I think it's really important for everybody that's watching this to look at your portfolios, write down your bullish, short-term bullish and bearish, long-term bullish and bearish, your goals when you want to cash out, when you want to sell. And I understand in America, we have these things called 401ks. So we're used to just taking a small percentage of our paycheck, like 1% to 5%, dumping it in, sending it off. It automatically gets deducted from our check. It goes to a financial advisor and they pick out what, funds you want or how you want to invest. And we generally don't cash it out till we're 65 years old. So we're holding on to these investments for about 20 years. Crypto is different though, because you have the opportunity to sell, to buy, to act on your own interest. And I think it's very important, especially this cycle, because it's going to be a very different cycle than we've seen in the past, primarily because of regulation. But I think it's really important for all of you to pay attention to your portfolios and not think of it as Solana versus Ethereum or Project X versus Project Y, but more so, what am I going to anticipate to do well next cycle? I'm not telling you to dump all your coins. I'm not telling you to not leave a moon bag. I'm not telling you to hold forever, but I'm just telling you to consider diversification. Consider what is going to make you the most amount of money for you and your family. Because technology changes really, 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 really fast. A lot of people like to compare this to the early days of the internet. So all that I wanted to let you know, yes, Solana is a valid competitor of Ethereum. Can Solana take over Ethereum's market share in Wall Street and with stable coins and with, fundamentals, any of it? Yes. But also in brand new layer one could pop up as well. So there's different things to pay attention to. And then also when we're talking about governments and the stable coins and all of these different things, shout out to Lawrence. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. Just got the hair done yesterday with low. No, they're asking on Twitch. But it's just weird. Like we have to go back to having manners, Shout out to Stray Dog. It's been a minute. But moral of the story is I really want you guys to look at your portfolios, look at what you're holding. If you want to make moon bags, I always recommend making moon bags. Always do, because really outside of Bitcoin, because it's not going to, so a lot of these projects might not be here. And we've seen that in the past, like with a lot of these smaller cryptos, in the past, but now it's really kind of go time. Now we're actually getting guidance. Now we're actually getting regulation. Now we're actually getting a better idea of what's going to sustain and what is not going to sustain. So all that I'm letting you know, again, it's not Solana versus Ethereum. It is you making as much money as ethically and legally as possible. And that's by you paying attention to what's happening in the market and kind of hearing what these people are saying. Because if Solana does in fact take over Ethereum's market share and outdoes Ethereum in the future, and I get stuck just holding my X amount of Solana for the next 20 years till I cash it out at 65 or sell it at 65, and Solana is, let's say, look, I'm talking about in 20 years from now. Let's say Solana is 50,000 per coin and Ethereum's still chilling at 10,000. It was my mistake for not rotating my capital into Solana. This is another reason why I like the moon bag. And again, I'm just using these coins because of the story. But again, when we're talking about moon bags and de-risking, I love that strategy. And the reason why I love it is because you take X amount of disposable income, you dump it into the market. When number goes up, you start taking out profit, whether it's 20% or 30% or 100% or 5,000%, whatever that is. And then whatever you have left over, you own free and clear. For example, I did this with Gala. The reason why I did this with Gal is, I loved the project back then. I thought they were doing really great stuff. However, the fundamentals change and they're not delivering on their promises. And this is for a lot of different coins, not just Gala. So I've got my moon bag. If this thing pumps, I'm good. If it doesn't, I've already pulled all my initial investment out. So at the end of the day, crypto is moving fast. Regulations are moving fast. TradFi is moving fast. Technology moves fast. And just because you're holding on to something doesn't mean that it's going to continue to do well in the next 20 years. So if you have a moon bag or you're rotating capital or you're diversifying properly, you'll be okay. So that's all I wanted to give. And again, it's never your coin against somebody else's coin. And all of the cult-like behavior, and you have to be like all XRP or all HBAR, all Solana. You don't have to do that. It's okay to have a diversified portfolio. It really, really is, and it's good. I do. But again, this cycle, I really do want to sell most of what I have outside of my Bitcoin and then kind of rebuild my portfolio when we get some lows. And again, we had a Goldman Sachs guy. He's like, we're going to have a bear market in 1 to 2 years, which we might. We'll see. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at some charts. All right, let's take a look at some of the charts over here. So, of course, Litecoin. We love the Litecoin intern. Also, to make sure to smash a like this video. And I've got a video about Chainlink coming for you guys out at 2 p.m. PT. It's a short. It's going to be a really, really good one. They're basically doing stuff ISO 222 or 2022, whatever. All right. So, current state of the market, a little bit sluggish. Actually, we're looking good here. We're looking pretty good here. Everything is up for the most part. Everything is up for the most part. So we like this. This is good. Now let's go and take a look at what happened with Bitcoin. So last night, we broke all-time high. We hit $125,885. This is my Big Daddy Chad chart. This is what we had marked over here. I am actually anticipating, I feel like we'll see but there's people calling for 135. I like 131, 132. That's what I like next. So right now we're waiting to see where we're going to close weekly. Like right now, because we had the swing look high to about $125,000 and then we had the pullback down to about $123,000. It's looking like we're getting a little bit exhausted the bulls are getting a little bit exhausted, and that's okay. Not a big deal. We do have really great support at 123 though. So let's go ahead and do naked chart. Market CIPHER is looking a bit exhausted, but we still have a little bit more room to go up. So taking a look at the weekly, we have a swing wick high to 125. We opened here at 112, which is pretty close to our key support at about 111 down over here. So it's good. We're currently trading around $123,000. Now the weekly does look bullish. Weekly does look a little more bullish than the, I love the troll box. Troll box is ridiculous. But the weekly looks a lot more bullish than the daily. But again, takes longer for weekly to play out. So we could see some volatility. Me personally, let's see where I want us to close. I would just like to close above 123. That would be cool because that's where a key area of, well, right now it's resistance, but it would be nice if we could get that close above there. So for me personally, I want to see us close above 123. The second best place would be above 120, which I think that we should be able to get that. It shouldn't be too crazy. So that's what's going on in Bitcoin. See the 4 hour. Yeah, 4 hours just kind of chilling. We're trying to figure out where we want to go. As far as Ethereum goes, Ethereum's doing nice at about 4,500. Not a whole lot of price movement here. But we are holding above 4,400, which is good. So let's hope that we can sustain. On the weekly looks good. Yeah, just as long as we get that close above 4,400, I'm good. That looks wonderful to me. Again, there's going to be some short-term volatility. We're going to get some XRP. Stick with me here. Solana is bouncing off really nicely at about 225, trading above 225. Market CIPHER indicates we've got a little bit more room to go. XRP at $3. We're not able to flip above the trend line yet, so we might just continue to consolidate and pop above eventually. But XRP doesn't play fair. When I say it doesn't play fair, it's just price action is really volatile, really volatile. Taking a look at Chainlink. Chainlink is doing fine. I just want to see it close above about 21.91. ADA doing okay. Would be nice to sustain really above 80 cents. That's a nice area of support for me. Hedera, trying to get back above 22 cents. I also want to draw a cute little trend line over here. Okay. Cute little trend line. We really need to Hedera needs to get back above 23. That'd be good. Dog, because we got to give a shout out to Dog. Dog's struggling a little bit with price action here, but that's okay. The one cool thing about Dog is all the engagement and all of the chatter you see and all the exchange listings, that's all organic. No one's getting paid to do that. Well, I guess technically we do get paid because if we bought the runestones, we got the Dog airdrop, so that type of stuff happens. But again, I had to use my own money for that. So, but shout out to the Dog community. Dog will pump again. I'm not concerned about it at all. The amount of interaction the community gets is just ridiculous. We had a really nice move up to about 0.0027, and hopefully we flip that soon. I imagine there'll be some sort of an announcement with some sort of an exchange or just in general, and things will go up. Really quickly, I wanted to take a look at what else? Binance, BNB. BNB is just ripping, and I was talking about potentially $2,000 for BNB this cycle. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did, just because of the sheer amount of it's a 70% pump. I wouldn't be surprised if we did. So BNB broke another all-time high, and I have a moon bag of BNB, and I'm just kind of chilling. It feels great. It feels absolutely wonderful. So moral of the story of this show is that we're just kind of vibing right now. We're waiting to see what happens. And I do want you guys to take some time for yourself and really kind of, in the next, whenever you can, but really kind of look at your portfolios, examine what you're invested in. How long have you been investing in X? How long do you plan to invest in X? When do you want to take profit? Like those types of things. So, and again, if you're somebody that wants to hold until you're 65 or just continue to pass it down to your kids, if it's not Bitcoin, you really should figure out if that makes sense or not. And hey, I'm not saying to not leave things to your kids and, you have to sell. I'm just saying, like, consider maybe making it a moon bag. That's all. And I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, of course, you guys, not a Bitcoin maxi by any means. But at the end of the day, like, we're here to make as much money as ethically as possible. And Bitcoin is a little bit different. And altcoins are a great tool, not only for financial freedom, but to own more Bitcoin and really just to own moon bags and see if it actually goes crazy, because, they do well. Also too, if you're not familiar, not remembering KRAKEN, if they're offering a deposit match up to 2% of any crypto or cash that you send in. I am partnered with them. We've got the QR code up there, the ref link down there. I use KRAKEN. I used it this morning, and I'm going to continue to use them because I like it. They got great customer service. But they are matching. So all you got to do is sign up with my link. And if you're already signed up, you can just go ahead and deposit and do your business. But always not your keys, not your coins. I'm going to get going. Go Hawks. I'll catch you guys at 2 p.m. PT and tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. PT. Bye, babies. Bye, my loves.